good to have you here on your first agricultural TV station, the Agricultural Research Council of Nigerian Television. And the program is Back to Farm. Today on Back to Farm, believe me, it's going to be a very amazing and a very long trip together with me, as we're going to be exploring something you've never seen. Yes, I mean it. You've never seen any of this anywhere else. We're talking about hydroponic farming. Hydroponic farming is defined as farming without soil. You know why? Because it is hydroponically farmed. So you're wondering how you can actually venture into growing your vegetables and your perishables without using the soil. All you need is water and probably some other elements which you're going to be watching on this very episode of the program. So stay tuned and take a look. Hydroponics can be defined as the science of growing or the production of plants in nutrient-rich solution or moist, inert material instead of soil. The cultivation of plants by placing the roots in liquid nutrient solution rather than in soil. Solace. Growth of plants. The process of growing plants without soil in beds of sand. The cultivation of plants by placing the roots in liquid nutrient solution rather than in soils can be defined as hydroponics. The process of growing plants without soil in beds of sand, gravels, or similar supporting materials flooded with nutrient solution. In the encyclopedia, hydroponic is defined as the practice of growing plants in liquid nutrients cultures rather than in soil. The cultivation of plants in nutrient-enriched water with or without the mechanical support of an inert medium such as sand or gravel and in the world. The science of growing plants without soil. The most common aspect of this definition is the hydroponic means growing plants without soil with the source of nutrient elements as either nutrient solution or nutrient-enriched water. An inert mechanical root support may or may not be used. It is interesting to note that in only 2 of the 6 definitions in hydroponic defined as science searching for definition of hydroponic in various books and articles. The following were found. Diverse. Define hydroponic plant culture as one in which all nutrients are supplied to the plants through the irrigation water with the growing substrate being soils. Plant is grown to produce flowers or fruits that are harvested for sale. In addition, most of the books on hydroponic culture focus on the general culture of plants and design of the growing system, giving only sketchy details on rooting bed design and the composition and management of the nutrient solution. Although the methods of solution delivery and plant support media may vary considerably among hydroponic systems, most are proven to be workable, resulting in reasonable good plant growth. However, there is a significant difference between a working system and others and one that is commercially viable. Unfortunately, many workable solubles cultural systems are not commercially viable. Most documentary on hydroponics will lead one to believe that hydroponic culture method for plants growing are relatively free problems since the rooting media and supply of nutrient element can be controlled. In this documentary, hydroponic culture is an inherently attractive, often oversimplified technology, which is far easier to promote than to sustain. Unfortunately, failures far outnumber the successes due to management inexperience or lack of scientific and engineering support. Experience has shown that hydroponic growing requires carefully attention to details and good growing skills. Most hydroponic growing systems are not easy to manage by the experienced and unskilled. Soil growing is more forgiving for errors made by grower than the most hydroponic growing system, particularly those that are purely hydroponic. Is hydroponic a science? This question has been frequently asked without a definite answer. Most documentaries do not define hydroponic as a science, but rather as another means of growing or cultivating plants. However, others define hydroponic as the science of growing or the production of plants in a nutrient-rich solution. I would assume that the science aspect is associated with a nutrient-rich solution, not even in Wikipedia. National Aeronautic Space Administration sees some from hydroponics will be selected methods for growing plants in space or celestial bodies. Hydroponic is indeed a technique for growing plants, and there has accumulated a body of knowledge regarding how to grow plants using a hydroponic method, or should be the hydroponic method, therefore fitting the criterion for being a science based on the preceding definition. Also, there is an accumulated body of systemized knowledge that fits the second part of the science definition, hydroponic terminology. As with every technical subject, they develop a language as well as a jargon that becomes accepted by those researching and applying that technology. However, the developed language or jargon can be confusing to those unfamiliar with the technology, and sometimes even for those within. Therefore, the hydroponic literature can be confusing to readers due to the variety of words and terms used. The words hydroponic and soilless grower have and are still being used to refer to the same method of growing, but in the text, the word hydroponic is used when growing systems are purely hydroponic. That is, there is no written medium, or the written medium is considered inert. The word soilless is used for systems of growing that relate to the plant production in which the medium can interact with plant roots, such as organic substance such as peat, moss, and pinkbark. In the organically based developing plant science technology, there are two words that are frequently used: food and nutrient. It can be confusing if these words are not clearly defined and understood. What came into common use beginning in the 1950s was the word food to identify a chemical fertilizer, a substance that can contain one or several of the essential plant elements. Today, in both organic and horticultural literature, it is not uncommon to identify nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium fertilizer as plant food, a word combination that has been generally accepted and commonly used and understood. One dictionary definition of food related to plant is inorganic substances absorbed by plant in gaseous form in water solutions. Therefore, those organic substances for use as fertilizer should be identified by the name rather than either a food or plant food. The word nutrient is vague in the meaning and used in many different scientific fields. Dictionary definition does not help as it is not specific, being defined as nutritive substance or ingredient. Now, let's talk about the future of hydroponics. Researchers addresses the future of hydroponics by stating that in a relatively short period of time, over about 65 years, hydroponics has adapted to many situations from outdoor field culture and indoor greenhouse culture, highly specialized culture in the space program. They also state that the only restraints for the application of hydroponic growing will be water and nutrients. In addition, Red Sea's many future applications of hydroponic is a variety of situations from food production in desert region to urban and space application. What is not encouraging for the future is the lack of inputs from scientists in public agricultural colleges and experiment stations that one time made significant contribution to crop production procedures, including hydroponics. The early hydroponic researchers today, only a few in similar universities are still active in hydroponic investigation and research. The current status of agricultural cooperation extension programs varies considerably from state to state. In the past, state specialists and county agents played major roles as source for reliable information, but today, these services are being cut back also. Few of these specialists and agents have any expertise in hydroponics or extensive experience in dealing with greenhouse management issues. Edwards. However, a positive role that county extension officers play in providing assistance to these seeking information. The science of hydroponics is currently little investigated, and much of the current focus is on the application of existing hydroponic techniques. Hydroponics as a method of growing is being primarily supported by those in the private sector who have a vested interest in its economic development based on the products that they market. Another disturbing factor that hydroponic society has not been active when it was discovered. The society had been holding annual meetings and publishing proceedings through the International Society of Soilless Culture, an organization that held meetings and published proceedings in the past, has not been active for 7 years. The role of commercial and scientific advancement have on society cannot be ignored when considering what is occurring in hydroponics today. The ease of movement of produce by surface and air transport, for example, allows for growing food products at great distances from their points of consumption. The advent of plastic has had an enormous impact on hydroponic because growing vessels, liquid storage tank, drip irrigation, tubing and fitting, greenhouse glazing materials, and sheeting materials essential components in all hydroponics greenhouses operations are derived from a wide range of plastic material that vary in their physical and chemical characteristics. The use of computer control practically every aspect of hydroponics greenhouse operation has revolutionized decision making and managerial control procedures. Although one might conclude The hydroponic crop production is becoming more and more a science. There is still much art required that makes this method of plant production a challenge as well as an adventure. Anyone who wishes to put hydroponic into practice has ready access to all the resources that are needed to successful, and it is able to grow plants using one of the various hydroponic growing systems. Walking into any greenhouse in which plants are being grown hydroponically, you can quickly assess the quality of management skills being applied, the result of applying unique skills that some individuals seem to have, that ability to take a set of operational parameters and make them work effectively and efficiently together. One who firmly believes that there are individuals who have what is called a green thumb, which there are others who do well with the resources they have, but seem to stay at a level of performance below those with a green thumb. It is similar to those who can cook a delicious meal while someone else using the same input is able to generate a gourmet meal. Now, let's look at advantages or value of hydroponic method. Crop can be grown where no suitable soil exists or where the soil is contaminated with disease. Labor for tilling, cultivating, fumigating, watering, and other traditional practices is largely eliminated. Maximum yields are possible, making the system economically visible in high density and expensive land areas. Conservation of water and nutrient is a feature of all systems. This can lead to reduction in pollution of land and system because valuable chemicals need not be lost. Soil-borne plant disease are common readily eradicated and in closed system, which can be totally flooded with an irrigant. More complete control of the environment is generally a feature of the system. Root environment, timely nutrient feeding or irrigation, and in greenhouse type operation, the light temperature, humidity and composition of the air can be manipulated. Water carrying high soluble salts may be used if done with extreme care. If the soluble salts concentration and the water pump supply are over 500 ppm, an open system of hydroponics may be used if care is given to frequent leaching of the growing medium to reduce salt accumulations. The amateur horticulturist can adapt a hydroponic system to home and partial types gardens, even in high-rise buildings. A hydroponic system can be clean, lightweight, and mechanized. Now, let's look at some of the disadvantages of hydroponic farming. The original construction cost per acre is great. Trained personnel must direct the growing operations. Knowledge of how plants grow and of the principles of nutrition is important. Introduced soil-borne disease and nematodes may be spread quickly to all beds on the same nutrient tank of a closed system. Most available plant varieties adapted to control growing conditions will require research and development. The reaction of the plants to good or poor nutrition is unbelievably fast. The grower must observe the plants every day. All the nutrients applied are readily available to plants. Now let's look at how does hydroponic works. Experientially, the idea of any hydroponic system is to stand your plants in a plastic container with a root system suspended by a cytofoam or any substitute and let a nutrient solution trickle past their roots with the help of gravity and a pump. The principal method growing crop with any hydroponic system is no different from that of the conventional. However, the methodology of cultivation has evolved. A hydroponicist makes use of processed coconut fibers, commonly known as cocoa coir, rice hull, expanded clay, charcoal, pallet, cytophone, mesh cup, and more. These substrates can be substitute of a good soil, such as providing support to plants, water nutrient retention, and providing aeration to the roots plants. Water is essential for development of every organism in the plant. It acts as the skeleton of the plant, providing turgor pressure to plant cells. Whilst in hydroponic water does more than providing skeletal structure to plants. It needs our dissolved nutrients in soluble form needed for the survival of crops. In hydroponics, the roots matter a lot in the uptake of mineral storage of manufactured materials and providing physical support for the aerial part of the plant. In hydroponics, plants can absorb organic materials unless it is first broken down to pure element. The absence of oxygen in hydroponics will lead to asphyxiation, which will lead to root rot. Once the root dies, the death of the entire plant is unavoidable. To develop a concrete blueprint of any hydroponic nutrient, we must review the organic makeup and growth stage of the plant. Plants live in the Earth's atmosphere, which contains 78% nitrogen, 20% oxygen, and 2% of carbon. Thus, for plants to develop properly, it must have access to these necessary elements. These four elements, carbon dioxide, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen, occur naturally. It should be emphasized that lack of any of these elements will lead to the ultimate death of plants.
The Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria (ARCN) coordinates the activities of research institutes and is responsible for supervision, regulation, coordination of research activities and programs of higher institutions in Nigeria. And Professor Hamidu Shaributu, since assumption as Executive Secretary of ARCN in April 2020, has solidified the transformation of agriculture in Nigeria through strategic and meaningful execution of research findings for improvement of the agricultural sector.
The rubber tree has two major outputs that are useful in the industrial sector as well as other uses. These include the white liquid substance tapped from the rubber tree, which is called latex, and the rubber seeds that are produced from the rubber trees. After the liquid is tapped from the rubber, it can be sold in its liquid form or processed into rubber sheet. To achieve standard of processing of rubber liquid into a more profitable form, the Rubber Research Institute of Nigeria has a rubber latex processing section.
Here is a pilot plant set up by the Rubber Research Institute to encourage, through demonstration, the value chain addition of our produce. Okay. Usually, when you tap rubber from the field, as I'm very, very sure you guys have seen earlier today, it is processed into raw materials that can be consumed by would-be manufacturers who are interested in using natural rubber as a base raw material.
For grains, we have the parabolic solar dryers. These are specialized solar dryers used for drying agricultural produce such as whole grains, yam and cassava chips, fruits and vegetables more efficiently. It is made of a special material that concentrates the rays of the sun within the enclosure while eliminating harmful ultraviolet radiation. Products dried are free from contaminants and are hygienic.
The parabolic shaped solar dryer is a need-based technology because virtually when we travel all over the country, you will see by the roadside, you see people drying all sorts of agricultural produce. Some spread their own on bare ground, and by the time the vehicles are moving, they raise dust, the dust stay on the products. The reptiles will come, they will eat whatever they can eat, drop their feces and their urine on it, and the owner comes in the evening to pack everything together and still eat that product, and the product has been contaminated, and we feel this is not right, and it is part of our mandate to make sure that we set it right, and that was what led to this, so that we can solve this problem at the grassroots level. Instead of drying by the roadside, drying on just bare ground in their villages, when they have this as a drying center, everybody in the community can bring their product there, spread on the tray, and they get it dry under hygienic condition that is covered. And the dryer also have another property to screen the ultraviolet ray of the sun, which is also can cause hazard to human health.
Welcome to Federal College of Land Resources Technology, Kuru, Jos, Plateau State.
The atomic absorption spectrophotometer, AFS, is an instrument which is used for the determination of metals that are dissolved in source.
Plantation. Put it like what? Welcome to production farms, where we're going to take you around our production tanks and a practical fisheries and integrated farm, integrate the farming system with a banana and plantain and so many aquatic animals.
Students and the other youths and women within the community. And this, in the aspect of training, we have two aspects of the fisheries and aquaculture. The fisheries aspect is the way to catch a fish, like a processing aspect, the catching aspect, and then when we come to the aquaculture aspect, is the breeding and then the production unit. In every aspect of agriculture sector, you need to have a seed. So the college here, our mandate is to train how to produce a fish seed, that is the fingerlings. And also, not only the fingerling production also, we also aid in producing manpower from different aspects of the community, different communities. Fishery School Baga is a very long standard, established in 1978, of which, for me, let me use of opportunity to say that I am also part and parcel of this college, because I graduated from this college, and that college, the college is more or less of entrepreneurship of the college, where when a student leaves the college, at least can stand by itself. Now, as we are talking about the federal government is now talking about food security. So once if you come out from this college, you can able to at least maintain our training and then also stand by yourself, self-employment.
Since then, Professor Shaributu has operated as visionary captain by restoring the council's glory with the first ever agricultural television and radio station in Nigeria, with well-equipped studios parading state-of-the-art equipment.
The Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria also has a brand new electronic library to further promote research and visualizations of deep thoughts on agricultural development in Nigeria.
The museum, located in the Senator Abdullahi Adamu Center, is an agricultural museum saddled with the responsibility of keeping records of agricultural findings, discoveries, researches for continuity and history purposes.
The Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria is wearing a new look under the stewardship of Professor Garba Hamidu Shaributu, who says, "Alone, I am nothing, but together, I am something." ARCN,
promoting agriculture.
And I'm back on your screen again to tell you that it is very important for you to understand that agriculture has evolved and technology is now the only way we can actually adapt into being sustainable as a nation. I'm sure you've learned on how to farm hydroponically. That way you can probably have a greenhouse, or better still, elaborate it into a hydroponic space, and of course it can embark on any perishable goods, and in 21 days they'll be ready for harvest. On behalf of the crew members who made it possible, many thanks for staying through on your first agricultural TV station. My name remains Joshua Ishaya. Bye for now.